And Coach Dantans, can I just say, I don't feel for you anymore. Can Attridgeville take on a game of the magnitude of Mamelodi Sundowns and the Chiefs? Why would I buy a team that has a backlog of games, including cup games? A team that is hovering in very dangerous waters of relegation. Oh, they brought in a dog named Win. He's changing culture. Oh, he's drawing light bulbs in the dressing room. Wow, just keep clapping. He's drawing light bulbs. Oh, he's playing You'll Never Walk Alone out loud on the training ground so that he can simulate Anfield and get the players ready. It's not a trophy. It's not a win. Welcome everybody to the George Mokoena podcast. My name is George Mokoena. I am your host, and this is a place where I look at some of the stories that came out over the past few weeks. I give you my thoughts about them in the hopes of sparking conversation, whether it be in the comments, whether it be in your WhatsApp groups, whether it be with your friends in real life. I want us to have juicier, deeper conversations about this here South African football that we love. So if you could do me the favor of liking, of sharing, of subscribing, of doing all of those really nice things so that this video, this podcast, and possibly the stuff that we speak about can go as far as possible, because these are conversations that need to be had. So let's get straight into it. So Marumo Gallants is in the news again because they released a statement saying that they'd gotten rid of Utentens. Well, they'd parted ways. Utentens took over Marumo Gallants at the beginning of the year after pushing out fellow coach Dylan Kerr, who allegedly was meant to be a solo coach, but then somehow Coach Utentens got into the picture. Now he's said to be replaced by Abdesalam Wadu, a former Fulham player who was also an AS Vita manager last year, Moroccan. So we know how that story goes. Coach Dantan says that he was taken by surprise and that he's not sure when this happened. He only got spoken to once. Nobody has spoken to him formally about this thing. He's finding about this thing like we are finding out about this thing. And he doesn't know what to say. I just want to say, Coach Dantan, come on. You can't be surprised. I think I speak for every football-loving fan in South Africa when I say that you getting fired by Marumo Gallants is nothing new. If there are things that we know for sure in the league, it's that Mamelodi Sundowns will probably win the league. Orlando Pirates will probably win a trophy or two. They will be load shedding. I'm looking at you, PSL. Yeah, we saw what happened last time. And Coach Dantans will part ways with Marumo Gallants sometime throughout the season. It's not a surprise anymore. And Coach Dantans, can I just say, I don't feel for you anymore because you keep putting yourself back into the same cycle. How many times are you going to be fired when things are going wrong and then fired when things maybe look a little bit better or you've stabilized the team? How many times are you going to take a 6-month contract to go back to the same place that keeps treating you exactly how you're getting treated now? How must I feel sorry for you? This feels like that couple that keeps breaking up and making up every now and then. After some time, all of us look at that couple and say, "Oh, Mara guys, you keep going back and forth in the same fashion." This is something that is plaguing our coaches, especially in South Africa, South African coaches, quite a bit. Guys, look at what Fadlu's doing in Tanzania. Look at what Rulani is doing in Morocco. Look at what Ramurebuli is doing in Botswana to even become the Botswana national team coach. The league doesn't love you. The league doesn't love you. Leave. Go and find yourself somewhere else. Build up your currency. Coach Dantans is the same person who speaks about wanting to wanting to coach Pirates. He speaks about wanting to take a big team and take them into the what and play his football and do all of that stuff. It's not going to happen. Surprise, surprise. And I think like coaches like Abo Dantans have dug themselves into holes where now you are viewed as Bosem Eletais. You are viewed as coaches that are called up. Hey, Gunzima, could you please come and save the team again? Hey, Gunzima, I need a low maintenance somebody to take over for 6 months. To be fair to him, I guess this time, maybe you think it's a little bit different because not only was he brought in, Mulifinteki, he was also brought into a job at Marumo Gallants as the technical director. We all know how his technical director time went with Kaizer Chiefs. So maybe you thought this was a long-term play. but he was let go as well. Can our coaches, our administrators take themselves seriously? No one's going to care for you if you don't care for you. No one's going to care for you if your representatives don't go fight. Now, Coach Kanu. Coach Kanu was literally staring down the barrel of a bad contract with Richards Bay. He had heard the sponsor speaking. He had heard the owner maybe making some allegations, some alluding to things. And he said, "Mara guys, lama target wenu awayenzi sense. We are go relegation, but then you want X amount of points. You want to do all of those things. Plus, you're not giving me a long-term deal." No. This is what our coaches need to do. Guys, it's not new. And it's not now that Maruma Kalans has just decided. They've been looking at it. And I will die on this hill to say that our South African coaches, most of them, are used as placeholders, are used as caretakers up until the team can bring in whoever they want to bring in. And if you look at this Abdesalam Wadu, if you look at this guy and his track record, guys, this is maybe his second or third deeply professional job where it's like a professional league. This coach was coaching AS Vita Club last year from January to September. He was coaching Lotopopo FC in Benin before that. It's not exactly the type of CV that inspires you to go and get these people, but it's still a pattern of South African football and South African ownership. You bring in a South African, they do whatever they do, whether they do well, look at Usiema, whether they do badly, as allegedly Coach Tendence is doing right now, they still get moved aside. And these guys get brought in and get given everything, or they fail, then you have to run back. There's rumors, allegedly, that are walking around, that are running around saying that Coach Siema, for example, doesn't have a set proper contract. Apparently, Eric Tinkler is going to take over there. Even though Coach Siema, look at where he has them. Look at where he had Skukune last year. And he still got moved aside for Peter Ibala, who couldn't last because of alleged personal things. So, Coach Tentens, I am done feeling sorry for you. I am done advocating for you. I am done making a noise. I am done praising and doing all that stuff. Now it's up to you to show us that you're going to take yourself seriously. Forget about these 6-month contracts. Let's go for 3 years. In fact, Coach Tentens, go to Tanzania, man. Go to Morocco, man. Go to Botswana, man. Go to anywhere, DRC. Go and build up your stature outside. And then maybe you might be able to come and coach one of the big teams here, because clearly Abakfuni. Let's move on to the next topic. Mamelodi Sundowns versus Kaizer Chiefs is a match that's going to be happening on the 1st of March 2025. And apparently that game has been sold out, but it wasn't without some issues. The game was originally slated to take place at Loftus Versfeld, but because of a Bulls game, it was moved over to Attridgeville. I believe FNB was meant to be the alternate stadium for this game, but FNB is allegedly also busy hosting some other things, so it had to go to Attridgeville. And this has brought about a couple of questions. Can Attridgeville take on a game of the magnitude of Mamelodi Sundowns and the Chiefs, a game that is sold out mere hours after opening up? Can the infrastructure around the stadium handle all of the fans, the cars, the whatnot? I mean, just a month ago, I went to go watch the derby. And when I got to the derby, I will never forget leaving or trying to leave after the game and being stuck in traffic for hours, and being stuck getting lost for hours, and being stuck in a wave of fans for hours. I can only imagine if Attridgeville and the surrounding infrastructure, I mean, if you just think about that, the road right outside the entrance, I can't imagine what's going to happen. And this is not a chat about safety or any of that stuff. It's just a chat about capacity. And maybe that's one of the worries that I have. But the major thing I want to speak about is, one more time, we find ourselves in a situation where a PSL game, a high-ranking PSL game, a high-graded ranking PSL game, has been shoved aside because why? We are not the main tenants at these stadiums. The main tenant at Loftus Versfeld is the Bulls, and allegedly they've got a 99-year lease on that. Allegedly they've got a long-term deal on that, which has its benefits. Number one, if I've got a long-term deal at a stadium, I know that my marketing, my visuals, my identity, my fans' ability to travel and do all of those things can be tied to one place. And that has all types of marketing implications, especially for PSL teams that are struggling. It begs the question as to when are we going to own stadiums? Now, I understand the argument that everybody makes. Can you give a PSL team a long-term lease, knowing that they go up and down, statuses get bought, blah, 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 cool. But isn't this a chance for, whether it be SAFA or PSL, or whether in partnership with SAFA and PSL, maybe SAFA, PSL and government can come in and get some of these 99-year leases for some of the stadiums inside the country, so that at the very least, if something goes wrong, you don't have a team begging from pillar to post trying to get a stadium. Think about Stellenbosch FC. Stellenbosch has had problems with Donny Craven. Obviously, Donny Craven is Stellenbosch University Stadium. They've had to play a lot of games at Moses Mabhida, sometimes because of the level of stadium, the standard of the stadium, but also sometimes because you go knocking at Donny Craven, they say, hey, we've got something planned. You go knocking at Athlone, they say, we've got something planned. You go knocking at DHL, they say, no, guys, this is our stadium as the rugby team. We take preference. We're going to do this and that, blah, 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 all of that stuff. And then they find themselves having to go play all the way in KZN. Now, guys, I don't know about you, but a home game in KZN for a Western Cape team, that is like the worst case scenario that you can get, because also you have to finance all of that stuff. You have to sometimes even pay for the other team because they've made their arrangements to come and play you. So we sit with, again, that situation where, man, the PSL has to do something for the state of our games. I joked earlier about the match that was stopped because of load shedding. But you're telling me that the league didn't know that that was a possibility? That the league couldn't make arrangements? They couldn't make calls? You're telling me that the standard of our game has to be dictated by these things? The standard of our pitches? Think about the events that have happened and then PSL comes to play. They've got all of these different things on there. They have to overwater a pitch because the grass had to be cut short because there was a tent that was pitched, or there was a Christian what, allegedly. We're suffering. And it goes all the way back for me to 2010. What was the point of building those stadiums if our local soccer are not the first beneficiaries of them? Nobody should be calling to try and organize Moses Mabhida late. Nobody should be calling to try and organize any of the different stadiums that we had that were built. Those should be football first. In fact, Loftus itself was renovated because of a footballing event. And for me, it's not even a hate for rugby. I enjoy what rugby does. I often reference rugby and how well they run their ship. But we need to look at the PSL and say, Mara guys, And when teams try to do stuff, there was an alleged thing about Mamelodi Sundowns wanting to buy HMPG. Cape Town City made an offer allegedly to the Cape Town municipality that side, to say, guys, give us one of the stadiums. I'm forgetting which stadium it was, but it's one of the dilapidated ones. And they said, no, guys, we'll source the money, we will refurbish it, and we will call it our home. And they declined. You're telling me that the PSL can't make a phone call? You're telling me that ISAFA can't make a phone call? I think we need to look at those things, or else we're going to be stuck with these things. I'm not going to lie to you. I fear a little bit about what's going to happen in Attridgeville. Obviously, it's a worst case scenario type situation, but I feel about that packed stadium. FNB was already struggling with so many things. And that's one thing we need to speak about is the running of the stadiums. None of the turnstiles are working. People are buying tickets, last minute, even though it was meant to be sold out. Others are coming with different tickets, allegedly, and getting in. The seating is always an issue. Safety is always an issue. We don't have enough stewards. We don't have enough. Hey, guys, when will the PSL take itself seriously? When is South African football going to take itself seriously for once? But in any case, I'm looking forward to a good game. I, for one, hope that certain things don't happen. You see what I did there? Sorry, Chiefs fans, man, I had to sneak it in. Okay, let's get into the next one. Okay, so I know I stopped the video a lot, and a lot of you are wondering, why are you asking for money? So I wanted to show you. I asked for money because I want to do more of this. Huh? But the truth of the matter is that it took over an hour in order just to render that shot. And it takes even longer when I'm doing my normal content because, guys, here's the unsung hero of the channel. And unfortunately, Shem, but the screen is broken. I have to use a second screen and the performance is not up to it. So I'd really love to upgrade things like that. And when you look over here, this is what the setup looks like. Rehenga di patlo and rehenga di green screen, which is a reality of being a South African content creator. Also, this is what people think is my studio. It's actually my house. So if you still don't know that I'm doing all of this from my home, then I don't know. But that is essentially what I want to do. More of these cool things. But I need you guys to please help me out by donating 50 Rand or more into this account. You know, we're fighting for multi-choice. And multi-choice, but there are subscription models all over the place. And I'd love to give the biggest quality while also being able to pay my rent and do things like that. That is where your money is going. And I promise to give you only the best content that I can if you do throw something in. So I just wanted to show you guys what I want to do with your money. I want to take this South African football and fulfill my dream of taking it into the future. But thank you guys so much. Remember, this is the bank account that you deposit into. Get back into the video. Another place where you question the seriousness of the league is the Royal AM saga. Now, an update has come out to say that Sars has now dealt with all of their processes and they're looking now to auction the team. And allegedly, the starting price has to be 15 million Rand. That's where the starting bids have to come in from. Now, it's a very far cry from the 50 million that it normally costs to purchase a status. Right, but it is something where SARS is just looking to recoup their money. Now, there's so many interesting things to speak of in this one transaction. Number one, 15 million to buy Royal AM. Why would you buy a team mid-season that has a backlog of games? I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the last time Royal AM played was the 29th of December. Why would I buy a team that has a backlog of games, including cup games? A team that is hovering in very dangerous waters of relegation. Why would I buy a team that's struggling to pay and has a lot of debts and things like that at this point in the season? Because I don't think the problem is that Royal AM is not an attractive club to buy. Many people would love to buy the club. Many people would love to buy the status. But the timing of everything throws so much into disarray. Not to mention the fact that the PSL also has their hands tied to a degree. Everybody's saying, if they can't pay, they can't do whatever, expel them. My thinking is that part of the reason why PSL doesn't want to expel Royal AM right now is because Royal AM forms part of the league and they've got games. If you expel them and you say that, okay, it will be as if the league always had 15 teams. You'd scrap all of the points they've earned, all of the points they've lost, you'd scrap the goals they've scored, and it would be like there were 15 teams. And the rest of the season, you would act that way. Think about supersport that have paid billions for a certain number of games. What is it, 240 league games? Would you be willing to lose, the 15, 16 games? What type of payback would you have to make for that? Because SuperSport paid and didn't get it. I'm sure there's some sort of remuneration that has to go the other way. You think about the Nedbank Cup. Nedbank is spending a lot of money to facilitate this tournament in the PSL. And now Milford, and now Mokoena, and now Sundowns are waiting for games that should have happened now. To be fair, it could be one game that is missed, it could be two. But in any case, there's a delay. So I think the PSL has its hands tied. But where I look at the PSL and I'm like, Mara guys, with all of the teams going bankrupt over the years, or with all of the teams having financial problems, I mean, we just had a similar situation with Moroka Swallows last year, where Swallows missed 2 games, Golden Arrows and Mamelodi Sundowns, if I'm not mistaken. They missed 2 games. And in missing those 2 games, yes, they were scrapped and whatever, but then, they had to restructure the team. Luckily for them, it was during the transfer window and they could do some contracts and they could do some things. But with all of the scares, your Celticses, your TTMs, your Bidvest Vitzes, all of those teams that have fallen by the wayside, surely by now you should have a protocol for this. Surely by now you should know, okay, team is in trouble. We go 1, we go 2, we go 3. Now, my suggestion, a little bit costly, but my suggestion would have been for the PSL to buy the team as an asset of the league, pay the 15 million. If it's 15 million offer, pay the 15 million, put it down, take the team, see towards the end of the season, let the administration run, back it with some money, let it run, finish the season, then sell it. Because the other crazy part about this is that a lot of our South African teams don't have value because of the team. They have value because of the status. Now, for those who are not understanding what I'm saying, the PSL, when you buy a PSL team or when you consult with the PSL to make a purchase, you're doing one of 2 things. On the one side, you're buying the entire thing as a going concern. So Bidvest Wits was purchased entirely by TTM, status and all, and it was dismantled and TTM brought in their own people and did all of that stuff, right? Bloemfontein Celtic was similar. Bloemfontein Celtic kept their IP and stuff like that, like the names, but Mkhize took over all of the contracts. They took over all of the, the finances around the team. They moved all of the players to KZN. There was a period where both teams there were 2 teams in one team, basically. She had to house them and do all of that stuff. So that's taking over everything, right? And then they're selling the status. So a status is a team's place in the league. There's 16 places in the league. You can buy that place from the league and move the team out. So usually what happens is that a team would sell its place. So Royal AM sells its place Royal AM buys Bloemfontein Celtic's place and then sells its place in the NFT. That's how that deal worked. So now these 2 are linked in this situation because EPSL at this current moment can't sell the status in the league because of the timing. Registration of players, all of that stuff. I don't know if FIFA allows you to move teams out and move teams in mid-season. That's just a headache on its own. It's easier to do it post-season when everything is over and you've got that gap. Even the deal for Bloemfontein Celtic when Mkhize bought the team happened right before the league started. So I think they're handcuffed in that sense that you've got sponsor responsibilities, you've got all of that stuff. And somebody mentioned in my group, I believe it was, let me not say his name because I don't know if he'd want to know. I want me to say it out loud. But he basically made the point that maybe it's also a favor that they're doing for Mkhize, because Mkhize bailed the league out of a very tough situation with Iploom Celtic. It was weeks before the league started when she bought Iploom Celtic. So maybe they're trying to give as much grace as they can for the situation to solve itself. But again, in that same token, how long are you going to wait, guys? At least when Roman Abramovich was going through what he was going through with the Putin ties and the Ukraine war and all of that stuff, the league went, okay, we'll step in, we'll allow the team to run as normal, we'll take some of the costs away that are a bit too heavy while we go look for an owner that can take over. And I think the best case scenario for the PSL was for a new owner to come in and take the team in total, like the whole thing, which is probably not going to happen. Sars, I don't think cares too much about the status. That's why I think it's 15 million instead of the 50, because I think they're separating the asset from the status. You're probably getting the training grounds, the Royal AM, you're probably getting the fleet, all of those different type of things on top of the other things that are being seized from Ushon Mkhize. Again, allegedly it's a process that's ongoing. So I don't think SARS cares too much about those type of things. So Hopefully, this resolves itself, but I think the PSL needs to take a long, hard look at itself and come up with some scenarios and some fixes for scenarios. And we can take it from there. But let's go on to the next topic. Now, Mamelodi Sundowns went out and beat TS Galaxy in the return game after they'd played them and lost in the league. One of the big things, I don't want to touch too much on the result or the play, but one of the big things was a question about offside. And I wanted to speak a little bit about that goal that Mamelodi Sundowns scored versus TS Galaxy, a goal where a ball was played in, a defender went for it, Peter Shalulile seemed to be in an offside position, challenged for the ball, and then the ball fell kindly to Reyners, who finished it off. I'm going to start off, guys, by reading the law. So I want to go into Law 11. Law 11 is what deals with offside. Okay, offside position. It's not an offense to be offside position if a player is in an it's not an offense to be in an offside position. A player is in an offside position if any part of their head, body, or feet is in the opponent's half, excluding the halfway line, and any part of the head, body, or feet is nearer to the opponent's goal line than the ball and the second last opponent. So that's the basics of offside. Then I want to read this. The offside offense. A player in an offside position at the time the ball is played or touched by a teammate is only penalized on becoming involved or active in the play by interfering with the play, by playing or touching the ball passed or touched by a teammate, or interfering with an opponent by 1. Preventing an opponent from playing or being able to play the ball by clearly obstructing the opponent's line of vision, or challenging an opponent for the ball, or clearly attempting to play a ball which is close when this action impacts on the opponent, or making an obvious action which clearly impacts the ability of the opponent to play the ball. Then the big or is gaining an advantage by playing the ball or interfering with the opponent with an opponent when it has rebounded or been deflected off the goalpost, crossbar, match official or opponent, or been deliberately saved by an opponent. The first point of contact of the play or touch of the ball should be used. Now, there's some definitions. I'm sorry, I just want to be thorough. Deliberate play, excluding deliberate handball, is when a player has control of the ball with the possibility of passing the ball to a teammate, gaining possession of the ball, or clearing the ball, example, kicking or heading it. If the pass attempt to gain possession or clearance by the player in control of the ball is inaccurate or unsuccessful, this does not negate the fact that the player deliberately played the ball. Okay, then just to be fully there. The nice thing, I'm taking this, by the way, from the IFAB website, that those are the guys that are in charge of the laws of the game. They actually give you scenarios. An attacking player in an offside position, A, runs towards the ball, and the teammate in an onside position, B, also runs towards the ball and plays it. The first player does not touch the ball, A, does not touch the ball, and does not impact any opponent's ability to play or challenge for the ball. What is the referee's decision? The answer, the referee allows play to continue as the attacking team, player A, has not committed an offside offense. An attacking player in an offside position, an attacking player in an offside position runs towards the ball but does not play the ball or prevent the opponent from being able to play the ball. What's the ref decision? It's not an offside offense. An attacking player in an offside position, where we go? Okay. An attacking player in an offside position is clearly obstructing the goalkeeper's line of vision. What is the referee's decision? It's an offside offense. The referee awards an indirect free kick to the defending team. The attacking player is penalized for preventing an opponent from playing or being able to play the ball by clearly obstructing the goalkeeper's line of vision. So here's the one, yes, Sundowns. An attacker, team A, in an offside position, and a defender, team B, jump for a header and compete for the ball. Neither of them touches the ball, which goes to another team A player who is in an onside position and scores. What is the correct decision? The referee awards an indirect free kick to team B. It's an offside offense because the attacker clearly attempted to play the ball, which was close, and this action impacted on the opponent. Now, I'm sorry for going too deep in reading those things, but I just wanted to be sure. I just wanted to make sure that we know what the rule is and what some of the situations are. But I want to ask about this interference. What does interference mean? So last season, there was a situation, I believe it was Mamelodi Sundowns versus Swallows at the time, and Divine Lunga went up for a ball. Well, Divine Lunga, there was a ball played in. Mhango was behind him in an offside position. But because he was aware of Mhango, he went back to try and play that ball. Because obviously you can't take any chances. And Mhango scored. In this situation, ball is played in, defender goes up for it with Peter Shalulile. Shalulile at the beginning of the play was offside, but they challenge for the ball. Ball hits the defender, falls for Reyners, who's now onside and scores. What is interference? Because for me, your presence or me knowing you're around, for you going for the ball, has to count as interference. It has to be, I can't have my defenders leave the ball when they know that there's a striker making a run behind them, especially if they don't have the context of knowing what the line looks like, where everybody's standing, if that player started onside or offside and all of those things. Is it not still an offside? Is it not still an offside when I challenge for a ball and the defender has no choice but to go for the ball? Guys, it's a cross into the box. Nangushasha nyamuzwa. Nyamuzwa la pamgwam, next to me or behind me. Nyamuzwa. I can't leave the ball. So shouldn't that count as interference as well? Especially when, again, you may not be directly impacting a player's ability to play the ball. You might not be obstructing them, but your awareness of the player to know that there's somebody there. The other argument that I've had, and this is a side argument, is speaking about how, when does the offense of the offside start? Because there's been plenty of places where a ball is played in and the flag goes up immediately, the whistle is blown immediately while the ball is in the air before we see the outcome of that. Whether the attacking player is going to leave the ball, whether the defender is going to interact with that ball. We've seen a lot of that. So is there an interpretation problem here? And am I incorrect? This is the question I'm asking to you guys for the comments. Am I incorrect in saying that any type of interference, similar to the goalkeeper example, if you're standing as the goalkeeper, there's a guy taking a shot, there's another guy sitting here, you don't know if a pass is going to go there. So you're aware that there's somebody there, or if they're obstructing you, there's something playing on your mind. Shouldn't that also count as interference? And in my mind, it does. But I'm going to leave that up to you guys. Tell me what you think. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, so this weekend, Arsenal played against West Ham and lost 1-0. Arsenal is in the title race. They'd been trying to chase down Liverpool, who have an 11-point lead right now after that game, even though Arsenal has a game in hand. There are 11 games left to play in the English Premiership. And, you know, as an Arsenal fan, I can't help but feel deja vu. I've seen this before. Guys, Leicester City wins the league. That, you remember that improbable win near Leicester City where, you know, the odds were 5,000 to 1 and it was insane and all of that stuff. Do you know who's number 2 that year? It was Arsenal. And what was the storyline? I don't know if you guys don't want to remind me, could remind me. What was the storyline? The storyline was, we're waiting for, was it Man City or Man United or whoever was at the top of the time to fall off. And once they fall off, we're going to jump in and take the chance. Leicester wins the league. I've seen the chat of, you know, Arsenal has been number 1 for so long and they bottle it. Deja vu. We had a similar thing last season. I see the chat of an inspirational manager who loves youth development and is building the club and the culture of the team and all of that stuff. We've seen it before. Having a title race in your hands, not per se this year, but you have to just stay consistent to win this thing. And they bottle it. I've seen it before. So excuse me if I'm not excited. Excuse me if I'm not going to clap hands. Excuse me if I'm disappointed in the fact that, again, we're staring down the barrel of another botched title race. And just for context, the last time Arsenal won the league was in the 2003-04 season, if I'm not mistaken. That's over 20 years ago. The last time Arsenal was in a Champions League final was 2006. I remember that game. I cried. Barcelona. Ronaldinho, my favorite player, broke my heart. So I've seen all of these things over and over again. And I've seen us react the same exact way, which begs the question. It's Arteta's 5th year in charge of this team. They've spent almost £1 billion, if not over, if I'm not mistaken, allegedly. We'll have to I'll put up a graphic. In his tenure. We've spent almost 60 million. We've spent almost 100 million. We've done so many different things for Arteta. But yet, I find the footballing world, and more importantly, the Arsenal fans, still clapping. Maybe he's not Klopp. Maybe he's Rodgers. Maybe he needs to get to the brink so that you can bring in somebody that could take you over the line. Maybe now you have to be honest and say that we love you. We love what you've done. But maybe you've just laid a really great foundation and something needs to be built on top of that. Now, there's arguments that people are going to come out and make. Oh, the board has failed Arteta. At what point do you become an accomplice to this whole thing? Because Stan's money has come out. Stan Kroenke has spent money. But what are you getting in return for this money to set up that team? Kai Havertz is a 65 million signing. Wow. On paper, Haaland is a 65 million signing. Merino is, I believe, a 30 million signing. Could you not have gotten better? And again, I find myself just going through and cycling through the deja vu of it all. Sterling, a Chelsea reject, sits on the bench. Jorginho, a Chelsea reject, sits on the bench. How is this different from Peter Cech? At the time was a Chelsea reject, comes because Courtois was there, comes and sits on our bench. Willian, Chelsea reject, comes and sits on the bench. David Luiz, Chelsea reject, comes and sits on the bench because we think that, we can squeeze the last bit of juice from those guys. Guys, can we get serious? Do you know what I respect about Liverpool? I respect that Liverpool did everything they needed to do when they saw that, guys, we're on the brink. Get rid of Rodgers, get rid of the backroom staff, bring in a new chief executive, bring in a new top-level coach. Someone who's a winner. And when you see that you are so close, you make the moves that matter. You bring in a Van Dijk, you bring in an Alisson Becker. You close off that thing so that you can have your team full and go and compete. Not this Arsenal business. I've seen this before. Bukayo Saka is just brand new Jack Wilshere. We're going to ride him into the ground. When you finally have star players in certain places, you don't bring in star players to complete that team. William Saliba and Gabriel have been performing to the point that now they might be starting to dip. We saw the same thing with Aubameyang. We saw the same thing with Ozil. Ozil is at his peak. He's on it. Bring in somebody who can finish those chances and take advantage of him now. No, we're going to ride this out. I feel for Bukayo and I'm scared for Saka. I'm terrified for Saka because you don't want him to end up like Jack Wilshere. Loyal. Until the talent ran out. Until his body couldn't take it anymore. Part of me actually wants Bukayo Saka to leave and go and fulfill his promise elsewhere. Thierry Henry wouldn't have a Champions League right now. Arsenal needs to become serious. I'm done clapping hands for everything other than the results. Oh, they brought in a dog named Win. He's changing culture. Oh, he's drawing light bulbs in the dressing room. Wow, just keep clapping. He's drawing light bulbs. Oh, he's playing You'll Never Walk Alone out loud on the training ground so that he can simulate Anfield and get the players ready. It's not a trophy. It's not a win. Oh, look at the young players that he's building. Look at Odegaard, Arsenal captain. Look at this, look at that. How different is that to, Gibbs, Wilshere, Ramsey, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Chambers. They're going to be the future of Arsenal. We're signing them now so we can keep them long term. And while teams are winning, Ivan Mkhize said we're going to go compete with the Bayern Munichs of the world, the Real Madrids of the world. That's why we're building the Emirates Stadium. That's why we're doing all of these things. Well, Real have a couple of Champions Leagues since then. More than a couple. Chelsea has 2 Champions Leagues and a Europa. Who couldn't even win the Europa anyway, and Europa. We'll watch them rise and go down again and rise and go down again. Guys, we need to get serious. There's no proper way. The real world says that you need to sign the best players to play in the best position, to give you the best output from the best positions for you to go and win the big trophies and compete with the big boys. When last did Arsenal go toe-to-toe with a big boy for a player and show that they want him? And a proper big boy. I'm not talking about fighting Chelsea because Todd Bowley was money crazy at the time. I'm talking about beating Real Madrid to Jude Bellingham. Beating Manchester City to Haaland. And part of the problem with Arsenal is that they don't want egos. They can't handle the egos. They can't bring the big players in. And it's this new manager thing where I want everything and spend all the monies and every player I want and every coach and every this and every that, then you can ask me for results. It's happening at Manchester United right now. Instead of grit your teeth and go win that thing. Grit your teeth and go perform. Grit your teeth, and when it gets tough versus the big guys, perform. I'm not going to celebrate beating City 5-1. It was great, it felt great. But I'm not going to celebrate it because it means nothing towards our goal of the league, our alleged goal. So I think we need to start having conversations, proper conversations about our coaches and how we rank them and why we rank them. Because I don't think any coach survives at any of the other big teams without bringing something and putting it on the table. And stop comparing them to people who they don't compare to. Within Klopp's 5 years, I believe he had a Champions League, he had a league. Within Pep's first 5 years, we don't even speak about it. He only flopped the first year. Carlo Ancelotti is doing bits at Real Madrid right now. That's the level. And if you're not at the level, it's fine. And maybe you need to spread your wings and go find yourself somewhere else and go win trophies. That's the other argument. He's going to leave us and go win. Sure. What does it matter to me if he's winning elsewhere if he doesn't win here? Who are you going to bring in? Really? With so many managers that are available. Again, the big teams are taking managers. Hey man, you've got a year left on your contract. Listen, How about at the end of the season you sign with us? Announce it to the other coach and say, hey man, Chelsea was bringing in Carlo Ancelotti and Gus Hiddink as caretaker coaches. Bayern was calling on Jupp Heynckes, a coach that anybody would have killed for. He won the last treble. Yet we are going, oh, who are you going to bring in? Is it realistic? Or maybe you just have to understand that you're a medium-sized club. And maybe that's the hard pill to swallow. Hey, okay. I'm going to give a little bit of a background. Munnapule Saleng has been missing from the squad for a while, the Pirates squad for a while. There's been rumors that have been floated about him sulking because of a move overseas that didn't materialize. There's been talk about personal problems. There's been talk about money. There've been rumors. Mickey Jr. comes out and says something. Then Soccer Pete comes out and says something else. Mickey Jr. says that it's to do with monies. I'm paraphrasing. It's to do with monies and personal, the personal side of the player and how that's been affected by the club. Soccer Pete comes out and says he doesn't pitch for practices and the club is protecting him because it's such a great team and they're with this and that. There's so much that has happened. But we have an update. Munnapule Saleng's agents came out and issued a statement on the back of, I believe it's the Soccer Beat coverage that spoke on that the club was trying its best for the player. So according to Saleng's management agents, P Management Sports, they released a statement by saying, "We are aware of ongoing speculation surrounding our client Munnapule Saleng. While we have refrained from making public comments due to the sensitive and confidential nature of the matter, our silence should not be misconstrued as an endorsement of the narrative being presented against him. This matter involves significant issues at the core of the employer-employee relationship that require resolution. Our client remains committed to addressing these matters through the appropriate legal and professional channels. Given the confidentiality of the matter, we will not be engaging in further public discussions. Our priority remains to act in our client's interests while advocating for a fair and amicable solution. We trust that the proper processes will lead to an outcome that serves the best interests of all parties involved." I just want to remind everyone of one fact here. No one knows what is actually happening. And I jump in by saying that as fans, these type of things are the things that are so unfair towards us. Now, I'm not referencing this specific situation, but sometimes I feel like our voices, our concerns, our noise are being used as negotiating tactics, are being used as ways to paint players, paint teams a certain way. Because giddy hem from this side, hem from that side. Hem from this one being fair to hem from this one not being fair. Hem from this being the story to people coming out and saying it's not the story. We don't know what's happening. And what's sad is that at the core, my core worry is about Saleng. What do you do if everybody turns on you because of a statement that was released? I had a similar conversation about the Nyoso, the Lodge issue, Umchitu from that YouTube series, Pirates' YouTube series. Why would you release something that would paint Uloch in a certain light without giving him the opportunity to come and say something? And I know, it's the club's prerogative. I know that Loch is not a saint. Munnapule might not even be a saint in this situation. But what does that talk do? What does all of that do to a player? due to a player's relationship with the club. Can you imagine if something is actually happening and things are leaking? We're actually having chats. So let's say we take what Munnapule Saleng's agents are saying as a matter of fact thing. How do you go back to the table and negotiate in kindness, if true? If not true, how does Pirates go back to a table and sit down with those people when, even though they're saying that they don't want to comment on it, they clearly disagree with what is being said, and they've hinted at an employer-employee relationship? Now, this could be the internet, this could also be made up, who knows? But what does that do? You know, I just spoke about Arsenal right now. And there was a situation that happened where Arteta was not happy with some of the players, and the club subsequently wanted to get rid of the players. But because of things that had been said in public and leaked in public and all of that stuff, it became harder to sell those guys. Because in public, you're telling everybody that this is a trash player. This is that. Like, people often make fun of me when I say, you know, when coaches or club representatives dance up in public, when they dance, it's not them dancing because they're trying to be smart. They're dancing to protect people. When a coach is asked directly about a player, why wasn't this player in the squad? There's a dance you can do instead of telling everybody. Think about Ten Hag, Sancho. Instead of telling everybody or alluding to things, you can just be like, hey, right now, I think I'm happy with the club with the squad that I have right now. The players that I've chosen have performed, and should there be a need to change or bring in other people, everybody is part of this team. It's a team for a reason. I can fetch anybody and have them play. It's just maybe not his time right now, and the player that's in the field right now is performing. Done. Dance. When Hugo Bruce comes out and he speaks, and then he's clipped everything, and he has to come out and apologize. You do this because once the story goes, it's out of your hands. And I dislike our media and our journalists so much because they allow these things to become sensationalized. They allow the uproar to happen, and when the uproar happens, you know that your engagement is going up, your website is getting clicks, all of those things are happening at the expense of whatever's going on. And if you're not really going to tell us what's going on deeply, then don't tell us anything. Don't come out and say, you know, Pirates is the most fair. I don't know if Pirates is the most fair. But now you're painting that guy as a different thing. You know, don't come out and speak about the club is like this and like this, because now you're painting the club as a different thing. And now we view things differently. Think about the perception of, I don't know, Bobby Motaung. And how we all perceive him as ngame, maybe as ruthless, as rude, maybe as all of those things. But every time you hear players speak about him, they go, no, that guy is one of the best guys. That guy is one of the best guys. And then you think about the media, the portrayal, you think about the things that are clipped out of context, you think about all of those things. And you wonder how that hurts everybody else. I mean, even from the club sense, if something leaks, it makes it harder to go sign a player. How many times do we complain about, no, the player was signed because Chiefs came knocking? It leaks. Now everybody knows where you're going. It leaks. Now everybody knows how much you wanted to pay, how much it was declined for, what were the nitty-gritties. And I, for one, let me be honest with you, I don't care too much for the leaks, but I'm one of those things that say, one of the people that say, rather expose it fully or don't expose at all. Rather report the news as is or don't say anything. Or say everything, actually. Or say everything. Like I said, I love the reporting from overseas when it comes to contract talks and things. It's almost like those journalists don't have a care for the two parties. They're trying to report this thing. The teams met this morning. This one wanted 10 million. That one wanted 12 million. They couldn't meet. So then now they might come to an 11, or they'll make it a 13 guaranteed like this. They give you all of the details. This one met that one. They spoke about this. They did this and did that and did that and did that. All of it. But once it starts becoming opinion pieces, and I know I'm a person who's coming on here and I'm saying I'm not a journalist. I love football. And I tell you off rip that my thing, I don't care too much about the news of it. I want to talk about the bigger picture of it. Like this is about media, journalists, information, and how it relates to us as fans. But we never get the full story. That's the full story. We'll either get it on Change Room. They'll do an episode on Change Room, or we'll get it when we see Saleng on TK Solutions. TK's podcast. Mara, this back and forth, man, I find it disingenuous, man. And I find that it stokes us normal fans up. And asazi what's actually happening. And by the time something has actually happened, it's too late. But guys, how do you feel about the media? I'm going to throw it to you. How do you feel about the media in SA, especially with how they cover South African football? I'm going to end it there. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I'll see you on the next one. Bye, everyone.